You're listening to Thunderquack Podcast Network. This is the Thunderquack Podcast, the official podcast of Thunderquack Podcast Network, where anything can happen. So strap yourselves in and hold on to your butts. It's Thunderquack time!
Hello and welcome back to the Thunderquack Podcast, the official podcast of thunderquack.com. You can get it early every Tuesday, except this week, at patreon.com/thunderquack, or you can wait and get it late every Friday on podcast services across the galaxy. I am one of your hosts, Michael Cohen.
And I'm your other host, Amanda Conkin. And one of the reasons why this is coming out not on Tuesday.
Now, okay, that's not fair. That's not fair to yourself. We had a late start yesterday.
And a million tech problems, and then everything failed.
But yeah, the tech problems were on my side, and hopefully they're fixed now. But if you listen to Rebel Cells, you know that last week I had similar issues with Matt. And they were Wi-Fi issues, so I just crossed my fingers and prayed to the Wi-Fi gods and hoped that they would go away. And then last night they came back, and which I should have expected, right? But so that is on me. But hopefully, so I've kind of redone our Wi-Fi setup in the house with these Wi-Fi boosters. So hopefully now I'll have a more stable connection, and we won't have any issues. But like the thing is that we didn't have issues for so long. Everything was fine.
It was so good.
But
I just want people to understand the extent of the tech issues. So here's what happened. My Skype completely logged me out. Like, it won't let me back in, and I had to create a new Skype account, which, boo-hoo for you, Skype, like, whatever. It was the only Microsoft product I've used for, like, a decade, so they just thought that my Hotmail account from when I was a teenager was still active for some reason, and it's obviously not. But then when I finally did get into Skype, we then started talking, and then there was the issues that you were having with the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And then while you were setting up your Wi-Fi and you're like, okay, this is going to take a bit. I'm going to like log into this other computer. I was like, okay, I'm just going to go upstairs and grab some popcorn then really quick. And so I left my computer downstairs, went upstairs, came back 2 minutes later, and it had shut itself down and was installing updates that were going to take like 45 minutes to install. It was comical, Mike. It was so comical, and I wanted to share that with people, that it just like was one thing after another.
You called me back, and I'm assuming it was on your phone, right? Like you used Skype on your phone to call me back. And you were like, hey, so this is what just happened. And I just said, we're not podcasting tonight. Like we're not supposed to do this tonight.
Yeah.
It's just not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So so we pushed it by a day. Depending, I mean, like, look, it's already 9:00 at night, and we have an hour of Avengers to get through. Get through. It's gonna be a joy, and the second that we hit play, everything is gonna melt away.
Oh yeah.
And we're gonna be enveloped in the gloriousness that is Act 2 of Avengers Endgame, which, like, hey, the setup is fine. It's a little bit of a bummer, actually. We talked about it last week. Like the first act is actually a lot of downers to take, but it ends on a high note. It definitely leaves you with a like, okay, we're gonna get the team back together.
Yeah.
Literally, we are getting a team, right? And then he says we're working on that, and that's where we cut.
Yeah.
So if you're following along at home, we're not really going to talk about anything else this week because I just want to get right into this.
We can talk about three. There's three things that we can talk about beforehand because they're random.
Oh, okay.
There's random things.
But you should be queued up to 4753, and you should have Ant-Man's hands over a taco and some chips on your screen, and that's where we're going to jump into it. And this is like from this point to the end of Act 2. When they all get back from the time heist, it's nothing but yucks. It's just like this is the best, not the best part. This is the most fun we're gonna have in this rewatch, because then when we come back for Act 3, it's gonna be a lot of intense action, and then I'm gonna cry for the last 30 minutes of the movie. So
but this
so
is
yeah,
just
like,
going to be a good time.
But this is the part of the
solid
movie, like when we talk about it, it's 3 movies, and it's like you've got the first movie that's a real bummer, the second movie that's just a good old fun time travel silly movie.
That's America's ass.
Yeah,
I love
it's
it.
just
it's the best.
just jokes and jokes and jokes, along with some cool action, but really actually not even that much action. And then it's just like, hey, this is the coolest thing you're ever going to see in your life, and nothing's I don't think anything's ever going to top this on screen.
The thing that's crazy is that I don't realize how Endgame, I think it's mostly this second act that we're going to go into.
Yeah.
That's what I think most of Endgame is, but really it's not. There's a full hour-long fight at the end of this movie. Like, it's a full chunk of the movie, so it's
a very large portion of the film.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
All right, what did you want to get into?
So how pleased am I that we podcasted today, because the Batwoman announcement about Rose,
Ruby Rose,
Ruby Rose, that wasn't on our radar yesterday, and that I think is worth talking about, because I mean, not that we really do that much Batwoman podcasting.
Here's the deal, though. Kind of interested to watch Batwoman now.
To see like what they do with getting. Like,
I'm not necessarily gonna. I shouldn't say not necessarily. I am without a doubt not going back and watching the first season of the show. I saw enough in teasers, like at the end of episodes of Arrow and whatnot, and then the Flash, whatever night it was on. I don't know. I think it was actually Supergirl, and then Batwoman was on after Supergirl.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So I saw enough of the like, stay tuned for Batwoman when she's gonna basically be Batman with boobs and red hair, and I was like, this is not the character from the comics. This is not a show worth my time personally. I understand that other people might be into it, and I don't think that it's a significant step down in quality in terms of the CW shows by any stretch of the imagination. But the biggest thing that was stopping me from watching that show was Ruby Rose, because in the crossover, last year and then this year, she really showed me that, like, no, this is not it's just not something that I'm interested in participating in. Let's say.
That's fair.
Have you read any of the articles? Has she said why she's stepping away from it?
No, she hasn't. I skimmed a few of them before, but I think the general consensus is that they're not sure why. Like, it's unclear why she's left. Like, there haven't been a comment specifically about why she's parted ways, but that we just know that the season is still going to go forward and they're going to recast it. So who knows? Okay.
Yeah.
Who knows what that is?
Yeah. I don't know. I think this is a positive thing for the show. It's going to do 2 things. It's going to give it a bit of a profile boost, as everybody talks about it, because here's one of the things. No one has said anything to me about Batwoman all season.
Oh, interesting.
It's like people have definitely talked. In fact, I think the show that's probably gotten the most buzz outside of the fact that Arrow was ending has been Legends. And that's just anecdotally on Twitter and Facebook with the people that I follow.
Right.
I honestly have no idea what happened in the second half of this season of The Flash. Because I stopped watching everything the second that we were done Quiver.
Yeah.
Not out of a like, hey, I don't want to watch these anymore. It was just like, I'm gonna watch other stuff because now I don't have to be up to date with these shows. And when they're all on Netflix and I feel like getting around to them, I will jump back into them. Supergirl probably first and foremost. Oh, actually, that's not true. Legends first and foremost. I did watch the first 3 episodes of Legends this season. This is pretty good. But yeah, like at no point has anody other than Andy said, "Are you watching Batwoman?" And Andy, God bless the man. He watches all of the CW shows without fail, and here's the thing: if it makes you happy, it makes you happy. I don't derive a ton of joy from them anymore.
Right.
Just by virtue of, I think, what we went through with Arrow. But
I feel that.
yeah, like Batwoman just has not been on the radar other than like I said, but the teasers on while watching Supergirl of like, hey, check out this show, and me going like, not on your life, pal. So I don't know. I'm sure that it has its fan base that's probably upset, but for me,
it'll be interesting to see like what they do with it. So
it's a lot of it's gonna depend on who they cast. I think, and if that ends up changing the direction of the show.
It seems odd to me that her contract wouldn't have included a second season. Like, it just is like a weird thing to me that, anyways, whatever, it's fine.
I don't
maybe they just really wanted somebody with a big name to start it, and
I think that contracts are always negotiable. That's the thing. Is that's one of the secrets of adult life that nobody tells you. When you're a kid, you hear the word contract and you think, "Oh my God, if somebody gets me to sign a contract," right? And it's like you get your first phone contract and you're like, "Oh my God, this is a binding legal document," and you think like, "Oh, this like there's no way that I can get out of this," and it's like everything in life is negotiable, except for death and taxes, right? Those are the so.
Don't remind me about my taxes.
Okay. So yeah, like I think that there was probably a clause in it that she was able to take advantage of. If not, then there's probably a penalty of some kind.
Yeah.
That like she has to pay something back or something like that. But honestly, I think if she's not having fun on the show, and if that's either coming across in the product, I don't know because I haven't watched it, or is impacting the environment on set, then
maybe it's right.
Yeah, I think that people would be like, yeah, this is probably for the best, and it seems like that's the vibe is of like well, it's better that everybody kind of parts amicably than it gets worse. She was a weird casting choice from the beginning. I did not see it, and
I'd be curious to what other people think though, especially people that are watching Batwoman.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, good. And then the only other thing that I thought we were going to talk about was the Umbrella Academy, because I was really excited to talk about Umbrella Academy.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, like, there's not a lot to say, right? Season 2 is coming July 31st.
Yeah.
Which is actually, now that I say that out loud, that's so far away, but it's not that far away, I guess.
It's not that far away. It's like 2 months.
Yeah. Yeah, man, Umbrella Academy is a great show. It's a great comic.
It gives you 2 months to catch up on the first season.
Yeah, and if you haven't watched it, then get on. I think I might actually force Crystal to watch it because I want to watch. Watching that trailer, which the trailer that they put together is the announcement of season 2,
so good,
of the season 2 release, is just them recreating the I Think We're Alone Now dance scene, but with everybody's shelter in place webcams, and it's so
good. And
it made me vibe with the show so fast, like instantaneously. It's so iconic to anybody who's watched the show that it immediately made me go like, that show was really great. I should watch it again.
It made me want to rewatch it again for sure.
Which, that's what they were going for, and mission accomplished. Well done.
Totally. And the thing I really like is that I love it when sequels have the same people in it. Yeah. So the fact that it's all the core cast, but plus that Ben is more featured because he's great and was only in like 2 episodes. That's his name, right? The ghost one?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Anyways, and that he's featured because he obviously wasn't in the dance sequence, obviously, because he's not alive. But I love that spoiler, I guess, for... No, he's not. No, you know that in the first one. He's like a character. He's like, he's one... Anyways. But I love that he's actually... that he's in the trailer for the second one, too. So it's really cute. Anyways, people should watch Umbrella Academy. It got me so excited. I watched the trailer twice because and then it made me go watch the original dance sequence again because it just like it's such a fun. It just made me want to watch it again. So anyway, I just wanted to rant about my love for the Umbrella Academy.
No, that's all good. I guess the other thing to say is just that yesterday we would have talked about this more yesterday, I think, because it was a little bit more fresh. But the community table read happened, and it was fantastic and just fun. Just a really, really good time. So there's the table read, which itself is 35 minutes.
Oh no, Mike.
What?
Oh no, Mike.
What?
I can't hear you.
Oh, am I cutting out? Okay.
The Wi-Fi woes.
Okay.
Tragic. Yes.
You still can't hear me?
I can now.
Okay.
You're back.
Okay, we'll just keep going. Unless it cuts out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's the 35-minute table read itself, and then there's a 40-minute Q&A with the cast and Dan Harmon. And then there's actually also like an hour-long episode of the Darkest Timeline podcast, which is Joel McHale and Ken Jeong's podcast. And so there's there's so much content that came out of this table read if you're a Community fan, and it's definitely worth digging into if you like the show. Certainly if you're as much of a fan as I am, it's a bit of a dream come true to have everybody reunited. And the amazing thing is how easily they all just clicked back into their characters. I loved it. It was fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good. I haven't watched it, so I might have to. There's a lot of stuff that I haven't watched, so. But as we're aware of this.
Yeah. Cool. Well, then let's take a break for ads, and then sorry.
I said woohoo.
Oh yeah. And then well, hey, if you don't want to listen to the ads, then you can head over to patreon.com/thunderquack and get
what
a
good idea. I would do that
without
if
ads.
I was listening to the podcast. I think that would be a good idea, because I mean, can't you like get it for like $1?
No, $1 is to get it early on Tuesday.
The early one. Oh, right.
$5 is to get it ad free. $10 gets you the uncut version. And this is all $10 like a month. And then $20
per episode.
Yeah, per episode.
Sorry.
$20 gets you Patreon producer shout out like JJ Samuel and Brian Murawski get in every episode. So there it is.
And
That was the Patreon producer shout out. Yeah.
You can like call yourself a producer too.
Yeah.
Because you are a producer. You help produce and make creative content.
Put it on IMDb.
Yeah, you can. Or
I don't
whatever
think
the
that
podcast version. I don't think the podcast version of IMDb is.
If there isn't, that might actually be a thing worth doing.
It could be. But here's the thing too, that people don't think: you can put it on your resume that you are a podcast producer.
Yeah.
Because you understand what it takes to make a podcast. Money.
Yeah.
Money is what it takes.
Money is what it takes. It actually doesn't take money. We did this for free with no money for a very long time. But if you want it to sound decent, it takes
your own personal capital, I think, was put into it a lot. So
that's fair.
Sure.
Cool.
Okay.
Let's stop for ads. We'll be right back, and then we'll get into Avengers Endgame Act 2. All right, let's get into this. So like I said, everybody should be queued up to 47:53 on we're watching on Disney Plus. I don't know if that's going to be exactly the same second on Blu-ray or DVD or any of the other streaming services, but hopefully you should be in the right ballpark. But like I said, what you should see on screen is Ant-Man about to have a taco. Well, his hands about to open up a taco and some chips. And here's the question: where did these chips and tacos come from? Did they order out? Did they get this DoorDash to the Avengers compound?
Of course.
Or do they have like a cafeteria on the Avengers compound?
Or maybe Ant-Man just got back from a drive where he was clearing his head a little bit and came back to sit down and have his taco.
We're going to continue talking about this once we hit play. So I'm just are you ready to go?
I am ready to go.
Okay.
And I know we do the 1, 2, 3, and then on, and then app, and then play. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm standing by whenever
Although
you're
it's
ready.
going to be a 3, 2, 1, not a 1, 2, 3.
Okay, fine.
What kind of a monster are you? Honestly, Amanda.
This is why you do the things, Mike.
Honestly, what chaotic world are you living in?
Can't be trusted.
Unbelievable.
Okay.
You've just exposed yourself to the whole internet community. What kind of a terrible person you are. Okay. Ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, play. So here we go. This delicious taco. Here's the thing. Ant-Man went, he drove, he brought the tacos back, and then he gave some to the Hulk and then came outside to enjoy his. I feel like there's like a cafeteria or something.
Cafeteria at the, well, I
Yeah.
mean, that I'm sure that all of these questions could be answered by other people. Oh no, I knocked my computer over. Sorry.
Nice. Nicely done. Nebula endearing herself to us even more by making fun of Ant-Man, and then the entrance of War Machine, priceless. Sorry, regular size man. It's so good.
I love it.
And then
'cause
the
where's
Hulk
the
gives him
tacos?
one of his tacos. Just that wonderful smile, that wonderful Mark Ruffalo smile coming through. And
so
the
good.
music cue is unbelievable. It's so perfect.
This
It's
is the funnest part of of Endgame. Like, I feel like if people just want to have a good time, come watch the second part of Endgame.
Yeah. I love the sparks coming off of the back of that truck.
I just noticed that too as we're watching. I'm like, oh
I love
man,
it
because
the Hulk
it's
is
riding
so
so low. Yeah.
Oh
my gosh. Those little details, man, you don't see them until you watch it like a million times.
Oh, I'm going to brag and say that I did notice the sparks in the theater on the first night and was chuckling at it. It's one of my favorite little touches in this sequence. You see the truck just go back to normal the second the Hulk
I mean,
jumps
I
off.
did notice that. I did notice that part of it, that it's like stuff. But
and it has
Tessa
Guardian.
Thompson.
Yeah.
Woo. She's my fave. Well, one of my faves. I really like her. I think she does a good job.
I'm excited to see more from her in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
I'm excited for a legitimate let's just use shorthand and say queer storyline in the MCU with her character, because we've been promised that in Love and Thunder. And
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yay.
Because a big deal was made out of the fact that Avengers Endgame would have an openly gay character in it. And a lot of people were going like, it's probably Asgardian. But then it doesn't end up, or sorry, not Asgardian, Valkyrie. I'm saying the wrong characters.
Wait, who's the openly gay character in Avengers?
It's the guy in the support group scene. The guy that Joe Russo plays. That's what they were talking about, and to me, it's like that's a little bit of a cop out.
No, that doesn't count. Yeah, that doesn't count. You need to make them an integral part of your story.
It's
they
just
can't
like
be a lamppost. It's the
in
same
Rise
thing
of Skywalker when they're like, oh, we're gonna have an on-screen gay character, and it's a kiss at the end of Rise of Skywalker that they edited out for the Asian market. So.
Yeah, if you can remove, right? It's like one of those tropes of, it's like one of the criticisms of like female representation, right? If you can remove the character or replace them by a lamp, they don't count as representation, right? Like this, by the way, I'm talking over the scene. I'm so sorry. The introduction of like Fat Thor is my absolute, like, I just, have we talked about this before about the importance? I think maybe when we were doing the last one, I talked about how, like, I think the Thor character is so important in like the difference in like how people deal with tragedy and like the complexity of his character, but also that Chris Hemsworth, being who he is, being able to do this character and do it justice and do it so well.
I think
really awesome.
the perfect aspect of this character's arc is it's two things. I don't think that Chris Hemsworth is playing the fact that Thor is fat as a joke.
No.
From his perspective, right? I mean, like, there are definitely jokes written into this when he grabs Rocket a second ago and rubs him against his belly. It's like, oh, this is gross. It's your big fat belly, right? I think there's also an element of it that Thor has very clearly not been taking care of himself in other ways as well. He is smelly and unkempt and probably sweaty and whatnot. Like there's more going on there than just the fat thing. But I think that he takes this depression And we see it in this moment here, like so seriously. And as an actor, like Chris Hemsworth is a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
Beyond being funny, beyond being one of the most beautiful specimens in the history of humanity. He is actually a very, very gifted actor. And the pain is visceral in his performance in this movie. And the drinking and his body and all of it is part of a journey that Thor is on. And they could have very easily ruined the whole thing at the end of the movie by having him pick up Mjolnir, transform into Thor, into like superhero Thor, and be ripped again. Right. Yeah. And for it to just wash it away. But they don't. He is in the same way that Tony says, you know, like, I want to, like, we got to get back what we lost, but I got to keep what I found, right? Like, these are the two things. And that is actually, that theme, that ideology is exemplified in Thor's journey, where he's whole, he's complete at the end of the movie, but after this act, actually, but it doesn't remove the trauma. He just processes, deals with it, integrates it into who he is as a person, and moves forward instead of staying in this regress state where he's gone back to who he was when we first met him, right? Even worse off than when we first met him in the first Thor movie. So it's a beautiful journey for a character.
Really, it really makes me remember how unlikable Thor is in the first movie. Like, he is just the worst, and it's just so great. Like, I do really like this, and that scene just being bookended by the humor is really nice, and you get this beautiful. That's probably one of the richest acting moments in the show. This episode. What is this? What is it? Film? That's
in this movie.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say.
There's a lot of words that you could have used that you didn't, that would have been correct.
I know.
But that's all right.
Yeah.
This is a great.
Hey, look.
This is a great oneer. I just a ridiculous
Ronan attacking everybody.
Yeah, action sequence. And this is comic books, man. This is why comic books are awesome. Who is this guy? Who are all these other guys? It doesn't matter. We know that this is the end of an issue of a Ronin comic, and it's all, that's all that matters is the context. The what's actually happening isn't important. We know from previous scenes from the stuff with Natasha and Rhodey that Hawkeye's out there killing people. He's like basically leaving a trail of bodies, and that's the only reason they know he's still alive and out there. Because he's not talking to anybody, and he's gone through this again. It just like Thor. It's like that first act. We were like, okay, here's our heroes who've kept the faith, right?
Right. Yeah.
To a certain extent, like they've remained somewhat intact. Now they have to go get
and find the
rest of the team back together, and this is where we come in and we go like, Thor is not a whole person right now. Clint is not a whole person right now, right? Like we're gonna kind of go along and find the rest of our team, bring them back together, so that we can start healing some of the damage that's been done.
Well, and that it deals with the consequences of the previous like actions, like that. I think is really important. That like nothing in this movie really shies away from consequence, and that you really do get like. There's stuff that happened.
Well, the whole movie is about processing trauma, right? like really, I think I think at its core, the thing that brings all of the Avengers together is this: they're the Avengers, right? As Tony says, not the pre-Vengers, the Avengers, and that's when they do their best work is after the fact, and that's a thematic element in it, and I love it when a movie states its thesis. I love it even more when it states it at the beginning of the film, so that it's like, hey, heads up, this is what this movie is about. Right. And it really is like this is them going like, we have to react to something that has happened, and everybody is gonna do it differently, right? But we talked about it last week. This is Nat and Clint. They've switched roles.
Yeah.
It used to be that Clint was the one that kept Nat grounded and out of that spiral, and now she's doing the same thing for him, which is great. I love the Lebowski reference.
It's good. I haven't seen Big Lebowski either.
I love Rocket's. You're only a genius on this planet.
Yeah, because it's true. Because Rocket is actually pretty smart, and I think it's a thing that
it's one of the things that doesn't really get played up that much in the MCU because of the type of stories that the Guardians tell. But Rocket is a genius level character, like engineer, in the same way that Tony is, in the same way that Bruce and Hank Pym and a lot of these characters are these incredible geniuses. Rocket is actually very, very smart.
This moment is funny. Where with the
one
Pym
test
article,
run.
He's so nervous. I do like I don't understand why they let Clint do the test. It just doesn't seem really like a good idea to send somebody with like a lot of like trauma.
Well, I think as we see, there's not really a lot he's going to get the opportunity to do. Don Cheadle just kills in the pantomime. He's so good. Oh man, this is. And I think we maybe talked about this a little bit last week, but this is the key to the MCU. The casting in these films is
it's just brilliant.
Above and beyond. And Don Cheadle, like everybody is a heavy hitter. It's the All-Stars, right? Like it's just, these are.
Their listing time movies. It's just so good. Sorry.
Die Hard? That's not one. You know that's an ad lib. That has to be an ad lib.
Yeah.
That's just Paul Rudd. Die Hard? That's not one.
The thing that's kind of funny is like you sometimes watch all these ad libs that just don't work, and it does make you realize how golden it is when they find the one that does. Because there's a few of that where they have some. Feel like it is the Cheese Whiz one too. Don Cheadle does a lot of ad libbing too. I feel like and stuff. So, anyways.
There we go. Past the quantum realm, and we're zipping through time. It appears to be working. I love the wormholes and implying that there are so many multiple time streams and places for them to go. But the important thing to remember, this is one of the things we talk about this all the time with time travel. You have to have rules, and you have to follow them, right?
Yeah.
One of the great things that I think this movie does is it states the rules that are important, but it implies a lot of the rules that it's like it's just for the huge nerds. And one of the rules that I think it does the best job of implying is if we go back to the diagram of the model that Tony does, and you watch it, you pay attention to it. What he's trying to solve for is traveling through time and returning to the same point that you left.
Right.
So when you look at the Mobius strip and you see it's a bunch of the a bunch of the targets go around it, and only one of them returns back to the point of origin, right? And that's what the hand thing is. It's traveling through time isn't the hard part. They can get into the quantum realm with the Pym particles. It's getting back to your quantum address that is,
and without pushing time through
the hard part,
whatever, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the Hulk was just he was attempting time travel in the completely wrong method, but because Tony never states that this is how time travel works, but then when the Hulk states it later, it totally supports the idea that what they're doing is they're traveling into time streams, altering those time streams, but then returning to their home time stream, as opposed to the Back to the Future method of like you go into a time stream, then when you travel forward, you're traveling forward in that alternate time, right? Which is what breaks it. So like it's like that device is the whole key to time travel in this story, is that Tony has figured out a way to basically like plant a flag in the moment and place that you left, travel through time, and then return back to that point. right? And that's the key. Without that, the story actually completely breaks down. But they nailed it. They put a lot of thought into it. The only plot hole that exists is that there is one loose time stream that nobody ever addresses. It's the one where we just experienced. Hawkeye removes the baseball glove. He takes that with him.
Because it's like, does he return it or whatever, right?
We don't ever get any indication that it gets returned.
Yeah.
Which means that there's an alternate time stream where that baseball glove doesn't exist in time anymore.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't have negative repercussions. But a butterfly flaps its wings and blah, blah, blah. Right? Yeah. We don't know. We're talking over one of the great moments for Thor. Where he's telling the story of the Dark World, which is so ballsy because it is widely considered the worst film in the MCU. Although I personally think it's The Incredible Hulk. But I love that Scott just loves it.
Like, he's like, it's just like involved.
Yeah.
I actually in talking to my parents through the MCU, I have talked about how Thor: The Dark World is not necessarily a really good one to watch, but I think it's like because of the Patty Jenkins thing and stuff. So, but
it's fine. Honestly, it's fine. It's not that bad of a movie. It's just when you compare it to everything else, it's not great.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
Tony's like, okay, you can sit down now. I like that they all get to sort of talk about their movies.
Yeah. Well, everybody gets to like one of the wonderful things that happens as a result of
everybody just like loves Ant-Man as this little like
one of the wonderful things that results from this movie is that all of these characters that we love now know one another pretty intimately. They spend all of this time together, right?
Yeah.
So there are all of these connections, all of these bonds and friendships that come out of this that who knows what that's going to the nodded is so good. Who knows what that's gonna result in the future, right? Because that's I think one of the places where the MCU shines is in pairing up characters. And I mean, like, who could have guessed after Avengers that Thor and Hulk would end up having one of the most fun
so good,
like,
so
buddy
good. I love it
totally. Like it's fantastic. I love that moments of them realizing that three of the stones are all in New York at the same time. But the thing that I love about it is that they're wrong, right? They luck out that the Ancient One
has the time stone,
is in New York and has the time stone with her. Because
because I don't think they know enough about what's his face, right?
No, nobody knows anything about Doctor Strange because he hasn't been a part of any of the other stories, right?
Yeah.
Man, this speech, it's so good. It's so good.
I love Captain America.
It's yeah. I mean, there's a meta narrative element to this where it ends. His speech ends, and Rocket says he's pretty good at that, it's Captain America, but it's also Chris Evans. Yeah. I love the look that Tony gives him.
Yeah.
There's so much there. There's so much there between them. God, these movies are so good. It's unfathomable how good these movies are. I don't understand it.
Yeah. This is the weirdest part is like the like psychological or like the physical, like how they can shrink down that ship and then put it on themselves and then shrink down to the quantum realm and then resize it again. I'm like, it's like the least believable part about the whole thing.
But it's established within the rules of Pym particles in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Because in Ant-Man and the Wasp, they have the whole building that they shrink down in the suitcase that they then put inside the van that then shrinks.
Yeah, that's
in the final sequence of that movie, they take the building, which has the quantum tunnel, which Hank Pym is in the quantum ship, in the quantum realm, retrieving Wasp, the original Wasp, right? Janet Van Dyne.
Yeah.
He's inside that. They shrink down the building, and then they shrink down the building inside the van repeatedly, back and forth. So, like, they established in that movie that, like, it's the Pym particles are ridiculous. Don't worry about it.
That's good.
It makes sense.
I like it.
So good. So good.
I love the difference between their old selves and their current selves, and just how that time has made such a huge difference in like who they are.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's just great.
It's a funny comic book thing, because comics are a writer's medium, I think. As much as the art is important in comic books, I think it's gratuitous. Yeah.
I don't know this version about this. It's so good.
He's a bad actor.
Mark Ruffalo is the only one that could really like pull that kind of stuff off. I love it so much.
But comic books, because it's a writer's medium, and it all depends on how the writer chooses to handle a character. You can have one story where a character is handled very poorly, and then another version where that character is handled really well. And then you have to somehow reconcile these disparate stories into a continuity, and it doesn't work. It never really works. But I feel like that moment kind of captures that essence of like, the character has come a long way, but also it can be handled so differently. Like we talk about the Incredible Hulk, the character is handled so differently than he is once Mark Ruffalo starts playing the character. And then even once you get into Thor Ragnarok and they really start to figure out who is the Hulk. And that's really the first movie where we get to see the Hulk. Right. Yeah. He's not just an action set piece, but is a character. And just, getting to see all that different stuff. But then you have to reconcile it all. And they force us to do it in this, which is great.
Yeah. That was Loki. Loki was there.
Asgard.
I do like that Tom Hiddleston got to be in this movie, but as like replaying himself as when he was like
I think that shot of Tom Hiddleston I don't think was new. I think that's from Dark World. As is the shot coming up with Jane. It's from a deleted scene.
Oh yeah, definitely, because they couldn't get Natalie Portman back.
They actually had her scheduled, and she was going to come in and do it, and then they realized that they had that footage and said, it's okay, we don't need to do this. We can actually just use this sequence and save ourselves some time. And she had also, I think, recorded some dialogue. Or I think the recorded dialogue is in it, but it's actually like not, they don't use all of it. She just kind of makes a noise. Yeah. But like they had planned more originally, but then this is all they really needed. It wasn't important, I think, was like they could have done more, but it was actually just kind of distracting from it, because Jane isn't the focal point of Thor's story here. She's what we see before is that like he's actually kind of okay with everything with Jane. Like it's whatever happened between the two of them after the Dark World. It's like they kind of just parted ways, right? Yeah. So like that's not something that he needs to process, but this stuff with his mother is still unfinished business. So that's the more important scene. And
I love it so much. It's this is the stuff with Thor is one of my favorite thing. I really do like this. And I think Rocket is an underappreciated character in this too, that like he's lost everyone. Yeah. Right? Like he's so invested, and that's what you get from this scene where he just like is like, how is everybody else? Like, it's, again, what you're saying, it's the different ways that people process grief and all that stuff, right? So, like, for him, he's just like...
He's a surprisingly resilient character, especially...
Was that a coffee mug? I feel like there was a coffee cup in the background.
There?
Maybe.
Well, Thor had a drink with him when they came through,
what it was.
I think.
That's what it probably was.
Yeah, he's got, like, his travel mug or whatever.
He probably left his travel mug.
Full of beer.
Probably what it is. Travel mug.
Yeah, Rocket's a really resilient character, and I think one of the things that people forget in Infinity War and Endgame is that it's actually, in Infinity War, it's several years after Volume 2, Guardians Volume 2, because Guardians Volume 2 happens almost immediately after Volume 1.
Right.
they're
And so they've been together for a while since.
Yeah. So it's the characters have all grown a lot, and then we take a 5-year jump with Nebula and Rocket, where Rocket has an opportunity to actually do a lot of growing up as a result of everything that they've gone through in Infinity War, right? So he's a very grounded, very mature character in this story. It's going to be very interesting to see when we come back to Volume 3 of Guardians how that all plays when they bring everybody back together. Because Quill, Drax, Mantis, like, they're all going to still be where they were in Infinity War, right? More or less.
Can I just explain the logic flaw in that? Is like, it would have made more sense for Nebula to drop them off at the other planet and for them to then drive back here than it would have been to send Nat and Hawkeye on their own. Like, but I get that they wanted that really cool moment of the two of them in the spaceship by themselves, two little humans. Anyways, but it's just like a little bit of a logic flaw where I'm like, that doesn't seem like the best planning. Like, you probably should have done it a different way. But
I think one of the keys is that they don't know with oh man, I can't remember the name of the planet, just fell out of my brain.
Morag?
No, the one that
Vormir?
Vormir, yeah. They don't know what they're walking into.
Right.
We know what's going to happen on Morag, right? We know that
that's fair.
Quill is there and we're going to take his tools from him and break into it ourselves.
That's fair.
This is so unexpected on opening night to pop over, and like, here's pre-Guardians Nebula and Gamora. And we get to see them right before. This is immediately before the events of Guardians.
Which is
really,
super
really
interesting.
Cool. Cool. And it retcons the wheel ships back into that story because they didn't exist. Because what we saw in that one was the Kree ships. We never saw Thanos' ship. So we see the what are they? The Reclaimers? The Accusers.
Sorry, I don't know what they are.
The Accusers, which is Ronan's thing. And I just watched Captain Marvel on the weekend, and it's really cool in Captain Marvel to see the Kree ships that aren't like, to see the difference between what the Kree ships look like in the 90s versus what Ronan's ship looks like in, what is that, 2014? Because Ronan has splintered off from the rest of the Kree, right? And I
thought they looked really similar though.
Shape-wise, they are very similar, but Ronan's is like his ship in Guardians is more sort of beat up looking and kind of like almost looks ancient.
Gotcha.
Because he's returned to their traditional ways, right? And he's not wearing the face paint in it, right? Like, it's just his blue face.
Yeah.
So you can say like there's an implied character arc there that all happens off screen that I think is really cool.
And I really like Lee Pace. I think it's really cool that he got to be in another movie. And you like Pushing Daisies, right? We talked about that before.
I've never watched Pushing Daisies.
No,
I know.
really?
It's one of those blind spots, and it's one of those shows that it's, you know what it is? It's not. Good. It's never been accessible for me. I just haven't had a way to watch it.
I have all the DVDs.
Yeah, I don't want to watch it on DVD. That we just talked over the introduction of my favorite Iron Man suit. That's the first time that we get to fully see it. The Mark 85, which is very serendipitous because 1985 is the year I was born. So this is
the first Captain America ass joke. I love it. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
So
gonna point them all out.
I love that the suit that I love the most is the Mark 85, and that's a significant number to me. It just kind of syncs up really nicely. And the only, you know why I like it? Because I like the gold arms. I like the just the way that they harken back to the more classic color scheme for Iron Man with it, and it's I don't know. It's such a great design. All of Iron Man suits are great. There isn't a single one that I'm like, eh. But
this is one of my favorite things, is the seeing what happens after the credits cut, right?
Yeah.
Like, after that really and the way that Loki.
Yeah. Well, an ability that we
Captain
didn't see until Dark World, right?
was his ability to mimic other people.
Yeah, I don't. Do we
Yeah.
see that in the first one?
No,
the
I
first
actually, I
Thor?
think you're right. I don't think we do. It's in Dark World, yeah.
Yeah, he uses other illusionary magic, but we never see him like
Yeah.
take somebody else's form. And he does. He specifically does the Captain America one in Dark World.
Yeah.
Um,
This, like him having to go down the stairs. I love that there's like little things where it's like it's just these small details that cause them to like.
So the movie, I said this last week. The movie bags on Back to the Future 2, right?
Yeah.
On the Back to the Future franchise, but then it employs the Back to the Future 2 methodology so well of we're seeing things from other perspectives, we're seeing things from other angles and moments that we weren't privy to before, and we're also setting up moments that are going to have consequences further on in the story, right? Like, we're setting up a lot of the Chekhov's guns,
Right.
and it's so expertly done that it is, even though the movie states that it's that Back to the Future is a silly movie, it then is an incredible homage to Back to the Future and the skillful way that movie handles time travel.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that aspect of it, and you can tell that they very clearly thought about it in those terms and put a lot of care and attention into the way that everything unfolds. But I said it last week, the Russos are just masterful storytellers.
Do we know where this scepter comes from originally? Because this is the Mind Stone, right? Like that's what he's getting. So like Loki just has it in Avengers, right?
Thanos gave it to him.
Okay.
So Thanos already had the Mind Stone for some reason. We've never gotten the story of where Thanos got the Mind Stone from.
But I'm curious. I think it's interesting that he gave it up. But anyways.
But like one of the things is that like the scepter could control minds, but at the time it wasn't considered the Mind Stone. That didn't happen until Age of Ultron. That it was removed and then becomes part of Vision.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love the Axe body spray.
The cannon in my desk for emergencies. I love it.
Yeah.
Emergencies. Axe and body spray emergencies.
Yeah, well, because they just
everybody's
fought
in this movie.
aliens.
I forgot about these guys as well.
Yeah. No, everybody is in this movie. There are very few characters from the MCU of importance that don't show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. It's so funny looking at Loki and Thor in like just doing these like person like walking through the building type things in their like epic capes.
Yeah.
Like it's just they're like so Asgardian. I just love it so much.
One of the things that I love about this scene is how faithful they are in recreating Thor's look from Avengers, because as the movies go on, they get better and better about nailing the way that Chris Hemsworth should look as Thor. And this is only, you have to remember, this is only the second appearance of Thor. So they're not quite there yet. They haven't quite nailed it. I feel like Ultron is when they really nail him.
Yeah, like what he actually looks like. Yeah. I think you're right. I think you've got a good point.
And it's really not as bad as the original Thor where he's got the dyed blonde eyebrows. Which is just so distracting in that movie. But it's still like, and Loki's got the absolutely awful hair in this movie. Or not in this movie, but in Avengers. But yeah, they so faithfully get everybody back to where they're supposed to be. And then here we go, setting up the Loki TV series, Disney Plus series.
Yeah. But this timeline never really gets...
No, well, that's the thing, is this timeline doesn't get fixed.
Restored, right? Yeah.
Because they lose the
Tesseract just gets taken away.
Hey, here's the thing. We don't know that yet. We don't know what Steve does on his mission.
Right.
It's entirely possible that the end of the Loki Disney Plus series is going to conclude with Loki having learned whatever lesson he needs to learn, and then Steve shows up and is like, hey, I'm going to need that back.
Right.
And returning both Loki and the Time Stone and the Tesseract back to this timeline, right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. That's as much as Chris Evans is done, maybe he's not done.
This is the best fight. The Chris Evans fight. Like,
It's so good.
I don't like. It's just like I know like that he's so he's so like exasperated with his former self.
Again, like the Back to the Future thing though, it's one of those things where like they're making fun of the character a little bit, but as I talk about a lot in the at the end of the movie when he stands up alone by himself, tightens the shield, and is ready to die fighting Thanos. He says it without ever saying it, right?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
we know that that's the same
thing. It's the same spirit all the way through.
It's consistent with the first time that he ever says it, which is in Captain America, where he's got the garbage can shield and the bully is beating the snot out of him, and he goes, "I could do this all day," and it's the heart of the character, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's the I love it. Bucky is still alive, and then he just knows exactly what to say.
It's so good. Oh, I love it. Best moment in the whole movie.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
It is America's ass. He can make fun of himself, and he's older now, and I really love Captain America. He's just my favorite. Anyways.
It's one of the genius elements of a franchise like the MCU has, which is that like when the Avengers come together, there's somebody for everybody. Everybody's got a favorite character in these movies.
Oh, they so do. This is also a brilliant way to have like explain the fancy science.
Beautiful exposition.
But also with some cool effects, which is fun. I also like Tilda Swinton. So, anyways. I'm curious now. You're making me like now it's niggling in the back of my brain about what happens with the Tesseract timeline. Like,
well, it's an unclosed loop at the moment, right? But there's more story to tell there because when we know that because we know that Loki is getting his own series. So I'm confident that they'll close that loop in that series. It'll probably actually be the moment that Loki becomes a hero. Right,
because he'll give back up
transition.
Right,
because he'll realize like, okay, I have to put back what I've messed up. Because the story of that show is going to be that he goes through time messing things up because he's Loki.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That he's going to use the Tesseract to travel all over the place, and I'm assuming get the Time Stone at some point and whatever. But this is such a great revelation. Where
that
we
it's
find out, like
in Strange giving it away is one of the only reasons that it comes back to like he realizes
it's the one in 14 million, right? He knows that he has to do it so that the Hulk will go back to this moment because the only way that the Ancient One is going to willingly give him the Time Stone is if he says that to her.
Right? That he gave it, that Strange gave it away.
Strange. Honestly, unsung hero of Endgame is Doctor Strange because he's the one playing the long game. Right?
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that he realized he has to sacrifice himself and he can't be there. He has to put his faith completely in everybody else, right? And it's just, because it was the biggest thing for me where I'm like, how is this gonna work out? Like, how is him giving up the Time Stone the thing? And it's just like he would only do it if it meant that it would save things, right? So it's good.
So it's so genius. It's so perfectly executed. If we were smarter, we probably would have gone back and started with Infinity War. Before doing Endgame, but
well, that means that I can just like watch Infinity War whenever I want to. It's kind of nice. So I hate this dude. What's his name? Something with an M, right?
Ebon Ma, I think.
Ma, yeah. Ugh.
You're not supposed to like him.
Yeah,
Squidward.
He's a good villain. Good villain. I like it.
Yeah. No, I mean it's another testament to the Russos and their storytelling ability is that we really don't spend that much time with Thanos's what are they called? Oh, I can't remember what it is. But his minions here, his horsemen. And yet like we know them. We know them as well as we need to. And it's a lot of great storytelling of like showing us what we need to know and not wasting time with what we don't. And I think it's one of the places where they're so successful is their ability to, because in the commentaries, a lot of what they talk about is where they decided to nip and tuck. Right. Yeah. It's like, well, so this was something that we had a lot of trouble with at first. And we had a lot of difficulty really nailing this moment. But once we realized that, just get to this thing, that's when the story comes together. Right. Just focus on this character. That's where the heart of this scene is. Right. Like they're really good at making sure that every scene is moving the story forward, that it's doing something. And maybe that's just establishing a character's motive or whatever. But the best scenes are the ones where we've got multiple things happening. So here we're establishing where Thanos is in his mentality, right? We're setting up how he's going to re-enter the story later. And we're also getting this glimpse at Gamora, and we're starting to see who she is in this moment.
Right.
Yeah, and we're remembering, oh yeah, that's right. She's days away from betraying Thanos. Right.
Right.
Which was the decision that she would, it's not like she made that decision in that moment. It's something that she built up to. Right. So.
Oh, I love this scene. This is Thor and his mom. Sorry, you can keep talking about.
No, it just accomplishes so much. This is one of my favorite shirts. The costume design is so good. I love Freya's costume.
Yeah. Oh,
not
so
Freya,
good.
Frigga. Her costume is so good. Like the
it's
armor with the. This is
so beautiful too. The way she reacts. The way she reacts to him too.
But like it's the casting thing again, right? Like without a powerhouse like Rene Russo in this role, how do you this scene isn't gonna work? And that's the key to all of it is like you've got two great actors playing off of each other. and it's dramatic, but it's also funny, and we're gonna we're moving this character's story forward.
Aww.
There's Natalie Portman.
Hi, Natalie Portman. I'm excited for you in Love and Thunder.
I'm very excited for her return. The thing that I'm the most excited about is her coming back and actually having some fun with the role. Because I think that one of the things that makes Thor and Dark World a little bit difficult to get through is that you can kind of see how much Natalie Portman is just there. Right? Yeah. She's not really bought into the world. She's not really bought into the character. And it always pulls me out with those movies, especially with Dark World because of everything that was going on with that production. But she I think justifiably phones it in. And it shows up on screen. But I'm excited for her to come back, do something fun, get the spotlight a little bit, and for it to be a Thor movie that's not necessarily about Thor Odinson, but just the power of Thor. Good lesson to learn.
They really should get a female director to be able to helm one of these movies by herself, though. So,
is Black Widow not directed by a woman?
Is it? Oh, okay, good.
I'm pretty sure.
Good. I hope so. Sure. It should be. I mean, it makes sense that it.
I'll double check that, but.
Right. I think that maybe that's what would tip her over the edge is her being able to
Black Widow is directed by Kate Shortland, and Captain Marvel I think has 2 directors.
It does. One of them
is a woman.
Yeah.
Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. So I mean, hey, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah. Slowly but surely.
So celebrate the small victories, right? It doesn't mean stop being critical, but I don't know. I think that I think Disney and Marvel Studios and Lucasfilm they're working on it. They're working on it. They are trying.
Oh, right. I forgot.
Sometimes it takes a second. She's so understanding as a mother.
Right. She just gets it, and I just love aw. It's good. It's so cute. I do love the scene, and they just hit the music cues
Yeah.
so well. You're right. It's like it's pretty good.
This
They
is
do
one
a
of
good
my
job.
favorite gags, though, is like,
Yeah.
because this is so iconic. The introduction of Star-Lord is so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
And I think it's like visceral for all of us, and we're reliving it. And then cut. In a second, it's going to be so good. Because we're living it. We're like, yeah, this is so much fun. Star-Lord's so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we cut, and it's like, wow, he really is just an idiot. It's yes.
It's Don Cheadle, the way that he delivers it too. He's so good. And that she's just like, yep, he is.
Yeah.
I love that this is what a lot of what he did in this movie too was just like get punched in the face.
The thing that I love about that moment, that exchange between the two of them, is that they've been waiting for Quill to show up, right? So clearly
Right.
they've talked about it, and I'm sure that at some point there was like a moment of like, so what's our game plan here? And Nebula's like, we wait for the idiot to show up, and then we punch him in the face, and we find out what he used to get the stone. And that Rhodey was probably like, what? That's the whole plan. And she's like, yes, he's an idiot. like no, you don't understand. He's an idiot. And this is actually important, the arm burning away. I'll talk about it in a second. But yeah, and then for that moment for him to be like, so he's an idiot. it's the confirmation of what she told him earlier.
Right.
The arm is important. It's a great moment between them. We have a great character moment where Rhodey says we work with what we got, because he's also part machine, right?
Right.
And so it's this great humanizing moment for Nebula, where it's like one of our heroes, one of actually probably the most pure heroes that we've got in Rhodey, right? Acknowledges that Nebula is now a hero. So it's it's almost like a knighting scene of like you've done what you've done because of, the situation that you've lived through, but we work with what we got. You're a hero. You're here now, right? And it's such a great like sort of like justification is not the right word, but just this great validation moment for Nebula of like, you've come so far and you've become this other person entirely, which she's going to be confronted with momentarily, and then we immediately tragically cut her off from the rest of the heroes, right?
Right.
But that arm is important because Rhodey just saw that happen.
Right.
And yet they're also elated to be back, that the plan worked, that he doesn't notice
right.
when they get back to the present that her arm is restored. And that all it takes is that faceplate, and that's not a continuity error. It's not a plot hole. The Russos actually acknowledge it in the commentary that was their way of giving the audience something to track. Of like,
whose arm is not there versus
that's not Nebula, right? Because at a certain point, she takes the faceplate, puts it on her, which is how we've been used to seeing Nebula throughout the movie. So then after that point, it's like, okay, our Nebula is missing that part of her faceplate, and she's also got the exposed robot arm, right? So it's it's just one of those small details, right? But it's a really cool one.
Nice. It's good. I do. We talked about this in the last watch through as well, like the first act, where like Nebula really does have this just like brilliant story arc.
Yeah. She's so integral to this film, and that is, I think, surprising for a lot of people and unexpected.
Yeah. Why doesn't she just immediately go back?
Yeah.
It drives me bananas.
I think because they're compromised, right? Because it's not just her stone, and she also knows like Rhodey got back with the stone. He got back, but we have to make sure, in order for the plan to work. This is what she's a hero now, right? So she doesn't immediately think of herself. She thinks of her teammates, and
that they've got to go back to
the Nebula that we just saw on Thanos' ship isn't operating on that level. She's only thinking of self-preservation when she's going like, that's not me, I would never betray you, right? She's not, it's not that she's loyal to Thanos, it's that she's afraid of Thanos.
Right.
Right? Yeah. And he knows that. He's fully aware.
Yeah.
Like, it was why he says, I know you wouldn't, right? But he also understands that, like, at a certain point, that's been undermined.
I love Ant-Man's, like, tantrum at this moment. Where he's like,
okay, so there's a bit of subtext here that, unless you're a really big Iron Man and Ant-Man fan, I don't know that everybody's going to follow. Hank Pym hates, not Tony, but... Well, he hates Tony as well, but he hates his dad.
Howard.
Right? They hate each other. And Hank has passed that on to Scott. Like, don't trust.
Gotcha. Don't
trust a Stark, right?
Yeah.
So there's a bit of animosity that I don't think that Tony is fully aware of in this moment, and Scott's just kind of venting a little bit on behalf of Hank. And there's, when we'll talk about it next week, obviously, but in the funeral scene, Michael Douglas nails his performance because they're there. It is Tony Stark's funeral.
America Rogers.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he has to be there for like Howard. Yeah. Howard.
He's there because Tony did obviously show himself to be a true hero by the end of it, but he's there begrudgingly. Right.
Interesting.
And it's a really, really understated performance and not really the focus, but
interesting. I'll rewatch that.
I'll point it out when we get there.
That was a fun scene too, where Iron Man and like Captain America don't really explain what's going on.
There's your Stan Lee cameo.
But they get it, like they're having this conversation without saying anything. So I just think it's. Anyways, I like it that they're both. I don't know. It's just good that they like know what they're looking after. I didn't realize that though. I guess that Hank Pym and Howard Stark would have, I guess, obviously worked in the same area.
There's content in the Ant-Man movies where there's stuff stated of like.
I'm excited to rewatch the Ant-Man movies because they're the ones that I've watched the least, but they are fun. So
they're actually
cameo.
They're both pretty high up in my ranking of the MCU because I do love both of those movies.
Yeah. I love, what did they say? They say he has a hippie beard.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the community reference cameos are also great. Joel McHale hasn't shown up yet. I was gonna say, I don't think. No. Wait, is Alison Brie in any? I don't think so.
No. Anyways.
I think we have Danny Pudi, Jim Rash, Yvette Nicole Brown, the one that we just watched. Ken Jeong was at the beginning of this movie. And then Donald Glover is in Spider-Man Homecoming, but he's not a cameo. He's a named character.
He's an actual,
he's actually the Prowler. So,
I am excited for that.
Yeah, like he could come back in a future Spider-Man story, or get his own movie. When Miles Morales shows up, he will be part of that story, if that ever happens.
I hope so.
Yeah, Dr. Zool. That's our heads up. I guess maybe Zola isn't a computer yet. He's still a human being at this point.
I guess so. Yeah, I've never really tracked that properly.
Yeah.
But
the computer that he's in is a very 1980s computer in Winter Soldier. So let's assume that's when it
was
happened.
in the 80s. Yeah, that's fair.
It's so weird how he grabs the finger, but that's fine.
Yeah.
It's a good moment with these two.
Yeah.
Here is one of the things about where special effects are at in this day and age. They de-aged oh man, I can't remember the actor's name.
But Howard Stark. Basically.
Yeah. He's de-aged in this scene, and it wasn't until actually recently when the Russos did their watch along thing, and they were talking about it, and they mentioned that he's de-aged. I didn't realize that he was de-aged. I thought they just dyed his hair.
Right.
But they like this one is more obvious with Michael Douglas. But I love it. I love his 1970s hair. It's so good. It's so good.
This whole movie is quite good.
Yeah.
It's just so fun.
It's just great because with Michael Douglas, like we know what his hair would have looked like because that's when he was in movies.
Right. Yeah.
So like is when his career started. So that haircut, that look is actually a reference to one of his first films. So good.
Nice.
I love all the ants. It's whatever research he's doing with ants because he's Ant-Man. And there we go. Hey, I would take all
so
of it.
many.
I would take all of it.
Yeah. Like, why are you only taking that many?
Yeah.
But
although I mean, like, also maybe that's just all we see him take. But
right. Yeah.
That's one of the things that like there are a lot of different elements to Steve's adventure at the end of the movie that people don't account for. But in that briefcase has to be the Pym particles that he stole.
Right.
He's got to put those back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a whole other Disney Plus series there of each episode
Captain America
of him
going
putting
through
stuff back.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
Yeah. Man, and this is perfect hero's journey stuff. He's what is it? It's the atonement with the father or whatever. It's literally happening for Tony. So his story is coming to an end.
Right.
Because this is the one piece of his arc that is still the one thread that's still left dangling. Everything else, he's realized he's got to get Peter back, and then he's good, right? And that's where at the end of the movie, when he makes the sacrifice that he does, it's like
he loves Maggie so much.
Done everything.
Peggy.
There she is.
Peggy, not Maggie. But
oh, did you say Maggie?
Margaret Carter. Yeah, I did. I said he loves Maggie so much. He doesn't. He loves Peggy so much.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I love it so much.
Yeah.
They're the best.
She's aged up a little bit there. I love that. That like they have to play so much with all this stuff. But,
to like keep them in the right timelines and stuff, which
but it's attention to
man,
detail.
Technology is insane, man. Like honestly, what is it? These deep fake things that we're just getting like you can just make whole new movies with like people that
Well, I saw a video where somebody did a deep fake of Jeff Bridges' face over the CG Jeff Bridges' face in Tron Legacy. And they improved it. Like they basically like made it better with the deep fake technology. So I think actually that moving forward, that's probably how we're gonna see a lot of this stuff progress. Is not with the motion capture CG, but instead with the deep fake technology. But there's some simple de-aging stuff that they can do in some of the movies, like they're doing with Howard here in this scene.
Yeah.
But
That's good. Aw.
I love it. I love the son imparting the wisdom to the father. It's so good.
Aw.
Yeah, you had him pegged all wrong, Tony. You were the most important thing to him the whole time.
I do like the discrepancy in how young the Howard Stark from Captain America looks compared to this Howard Stark, and how different. Like it's not that far, right? Like this isn't.
If this is the 1970s, then it's 30 years.
Oh, is
almost
it? Okay.
25, 30 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's significantly older.
But I thought and this Jarvis, isn't this Jarvis in Agent Carter?
Yep.
So anyways, there's just like overlap things. I haven't seen Agent Carter. Maybe I should watch it.
It's good. Agent
I love
Carter's
that they make
good.
so many comments about his beard.
His hippie beard. Yeah.
They just make so many. So good. Like at any time she could just press the little button and go. Like why doesn't she just go? Oh, now she can't because they just stole it. Oh well.
Because she can't. Because the story, it has to happen the way that it happens.
Yeah, I know, but it's frustrating. I don't want it to happen like that.
Of course not. We just want
I
the
want it to all
heroes
be-
to win.
Yeah,
But
of
if they
course.
don't, or if they do, then where's the conflict? Where's the story?
Yeah,
It's
I mean, that's fair.
it's got to be a little bit difficult. We got to lose something along the way, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Although this,
fair.
like, importantly, this gains us back Gamora. She's
I
dead
mean,
in the
yeah,
future, so not coming
that's
back.
true. That's true. Right. She dead.
Yeah,
She got killed in different ways than everybody else.
and we don't know exactly what's gonna happen here.
Ooh, dun
But
dun
then it's
dun. But
the faceplate. The seamless way that they do this, where it's like it goes from the makeup to the CG, so good. It's so good.
there's just like technology is insane.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, when
know.
you have unlimited resources, right?
I mean, yeah, that's fair.
You can move the sun if you need
fair. That's fair.
to. Yeah, man. There's Vormir.
Oh yeah, we haven't got. This has probably all been happening at the same time.
Yeah.
They took a long time to get to Vormir. We're just gonna watch. But I love that it totally is totally awesome because he's like under different circumstances, but also
Yeah.
the way that his tone is, he's like, this is totally awesome, but he just doesn't want to say it. I just did. I don't know. It's just like anybody else that would have gone, it wouldn't have worked. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it has to be the two of them.
It has to be the two of them.
Yeah.
So, but it's like they should have known that when they sent them, but they didn't. It just like works out. Anyways.
Well, they kind of know, right? Because the Nebula implies, Nebula doesn't know. She doesn't know exactly what happened on Vormir, but what she knows is that Thanos took Gamora there, and Gamora didn't come back. Yeah. So there was a sacrifice of some kind, because Nebula understands that Thanos loved Gamora.
Right. Yeah.
And the reason why she knows that is because he didn't love her, right? Like she knows the difference because she felt the absence of it, right?
Yeah.
So she explains it as best as she can, but we don't really know what the price is going to be until we get there.
Yeah.
The audience knows, we know, but they don't, right? The heroes don't. So
I don't know why they couldn't just go steal the Mind Stone from somebody else or the Soul Stone. They should have just got it somewhere else.
Because the only person that they would know of having it at this point would be Thanos, and at the point that he's got the Soul Stone, he has 3 other stones.
Right. Yeah. So
4 other stones. What's he's only missing the Time Stone and the Mind Stone. Yeah.
Right.
So he's got 3 other stones and then gets the Soul Stone. So he has 4 stones and is basically unstoppable. That's the whole point of Infinity War. Right. By the time that he's got those, once he gets the Time Stone, he's unstoppable. There was no way they were going to protect Vision, right?
Right. Well, they could have separated the stone from his body
and destroyed it.
It would have been nice if they could have done that in time. I am excited for WandaVision.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I'm excited for every shred of MCU content that we're gonna get. It's all. It's all exciting.
Yeah. This is so awkward. Where they like, I love it. Where they're like, I think that you think.
Yeah, they're both saying that they're going to sacrifice
saying
themselves.
that we're going to sacrifice ourselves. Yeah.
It's good. So there's an alternate version of this whole sequence where they get there and then Thanos's minions arrive at the same time. And instead of this fight against each other for who's going to sacrifice themselves, they're actually
fighting against Thanos's people.
They're racing against Thanos's minions for Black Widow to sacrifice herself first.
Right.
Before they get killed, so that Hawkeye can get the stone. And it doesn't work. There's a reason why they reshot the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because this is much better. I think this actually works really well.
Oh yeah.
And it's very impactful, and Natasha's sacrifice is really important. And there's people who criticize that like she doesn't get her due, but I do think that like there's different context for when they sort of eulogize her at the beginning of Act 3, as opposed to with Tony, where
I do like too that like one of the things that is important is that she overpowers him in this scene. Like she wins. Yeah. Like in her sacrifice, she is the better of the two of them in terms of like the fight. And so that's kind of cool that she like does best him. So, it's cool.
But we're gonna get our proper Black Widow eulogy when that movie releases, which it was already supposed to. But now we gotta wait till November.
Yeah. I want it now.
We should have already seen Black Widow. Isn't that ridiculous?
Man.
We live in this awful timeline.
Right? Do we think this is the darkest timeline, or is there someplace darker?
Yeah. I mean, there's always, the timelines where Hitler won.
I mean,
I think those are darker timelines. That's my opinion.
You make a good point. I actually really want to watch Man in the High Castle. I've never seen it.
I haven't watched it either. It's one of those things where it's like it's the same as Westworld for me, where it's like I know I'm gonna like it, but I just can't. I just don't have the capacity right now to get into it. But I will eventually. Yeah.
Well, this is one of the last like big things that happens during this act. We're almost at the end of this act.
Yeah, we basically are. I haven't actually figured out like exactly the moment that we're gonna cut this, so we're gonna play it by ear a little bit here.
Can you guys hear my mom yelling to my dad upstairs about the voice?
No,
I'm sorry. It's just it's so loud.
Do your parents also watch The Masked Singer?
Of course they do, and they're in a dilemma tonight because both The Masked Singer and The Voice are on, and it's like this whole big thing that my mom's had to stay up really late.
I already know who The Masked Singer was tonight, so.
Ooh. Yeah. Wow.
Just because Ken Jeong is one of the hosts, and so he tweets about it a lot. I don't watch it. We actually canceled cable today.
Oh, no way.
I cut the cord today. Yeah. Don't need it. Don't need it.
Interesting.
Don't have Arrow.
I'm so glad you can't tell. I'm so glad you can't hear her. She's being so loud.
Yeah.
So funny. Sorry, I'm talking over this really sad moment where we just lost Natasha and he gets the Soul Stone. But, other pop culture. I don't watch reality shows, but apparently people are liking The Masked Singer because it's one of the only reality shows because it was filmed before all this happened. So it's still got a good format to it.
Plans got to work now because Hawkeye's really lost everyone. He's got nobody left.
He needs everybody to come back.
But here we go. Everybody coming back. Zooming back. Poip.
Yeah.
And there we go.
Nice. Is this it? Is this where we're ending? Or are we waiting?
You know what? Let's get through the Natasha's memorial scene. Because otherwise we're starting on a real downer.
That's fair.
That's fair. I like the most important the three most important characters are checked in with here. Hawkeye, Hulk, and Captain America, the ones that are closest to Nat.
Yeah. Actually, this is a good idea. Yeah, we'll end on this little memorial to Nat and then come back because it's still like a full hour after this. So,
So even though Black Widow is introduced in one of Tony's movies, he kind of knows her the least. Family?
She's not like, she's always been a little bit peripheral to him.
Hey, so. I love this scene because of Thor's reaction, because he doesn't want to go back. He doesn't want to regress because he just dealt with everything. So he's like, no, I'm better now. So we can't be depressed now. We'll fix this. We can fix this too. We're gonna fix everything. That's what we're gonna do. We're heroes, right? But them sort of forcing is kind of got to come to terms with it. And he's like the floating red guy. It's like he doesn't know who Red Skull is. Captain America is the only one who knows who Red Skull is.
Oh right, yeah.
Oh, it's good stuff.
Oh, there's not. It's good. Clint is he deals with it okay.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's important. Like, he just is regretting like
I just have a
having to let
really
go.
hard time taking his performance seriously with that hair, but
It never bothered me. I saw a meme about it today though, and
Yeah.
now I just can't stop thinking about it. Somebody was calling it like a COVID haircut. And they're like, what happens when you like are halfway through it and lockdown happened? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All
Well,
right,
Captain
let's cut it
America,
there.
we will. We will.
157.26. So we will come back
Yeah.
on the nano gauntlet being constructed next week and finish out Avengers Endgame with Act 3. We're really just gonna gush at, hey, I like that character. Hey, look at that guy. Hey, they're hugging, and then I'm gonna cry
Look at these awesome
for
movies.
15
Yeah,
minutes
yeah.
straight. So
Aw.
get yourselves mentally prepared to listen to. I'll be 35 at that point. It's my birthday on Sunday.
I totally remembered that. I'm sorry. I'm the worst. Because usually we go to a movie on your birthday, and that's
do.
how I remember it's your birthday.
We were supposed to go to Fast and the Furious for my birthday. F9 was supposed to be this weekend, and then I was supposed to go to Jurassic World Live, and it's just this was supposed to be an awesome weekend, like one for the ages, and instead, I don't know. I'm gonna. What are we doing? We're gonna try and order in. If Spaghetti Factory is opened up again, which I need to check. Hopefully they're open by this weekend, so we can get some curbside takeout from them. If not, it's gonna be Olive Garden. Gonna drive all the way out to Langley and get Olive Garden. But yeah.
Cool.
That's basically it for me.
I will let me know what you want. I can get you an audiobook because I have audible credits.
I don't want an audiobook because I have
so many.
I think I have 3 credits sitting in my account.
No way.
Yeah. But I don't know.
It's like hard to give people like gifts across the void, especially considering I don't. Well, mind you, I was just gonna use Audible, which is Amazon as well.
I have an Amazon wish list, so.
That's true, but I was just going to say I don't know if I necessarily want to start sending things on Amazon because it's starting to like really get to me that Amazon is making so much money and being terrible.
Oh, that they're the worst.
They're workers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like maybe I can get you something. I'll get you like some pasta. We'll figure it out.
Okay. Well, we can figure it out. It's all good.
Cool.
Well, it's late. It's almost 11 o'clock. So we're gonna wrap it up there. Thankfully, hey, we only had the one little hiccup with the internet. It stayed stable through the rest of it. So, cool. That's it for this week's episode, guys.
Cool.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope everybody's enjoying this. I think everybody is. I mean, we're just. I think one of the cool things about this is that like this is really what we do, podcasting. Right? It's like for Quiver, this is what we did. We talked over a TV show. So breaking up the movies into these chunks, I think is kind of a fun way to do a similar thing, but we can be a little bit more varied. We did Star Wars, now we're doing Avengers, and maybe next we'll do John Carter.
Oh yeah, I've been thinking about John Carter a lot recently.
It's been a long time since I've sat down and watched that movie. So
yeah, me too.
But I don't know. Maybe I'll even put up a poll in the Facebook group, and you guys can choose what we do after this one. Because we'll come back next week. We'll close out Avengers Endgame, and then the following week we take the week off, right? So
and then
we'll come back the week after that, and we'll have we'll pick another movie to do this. Because I actually kind of been feeling out this format, right? And I actually really, really like this format of let's talk a little bit about the news, and then let's take a break, and then let's jump in and just talk over a piece of amazing media. Because it's really it's easy to stay positive when we're just watching a movie that we love. Yeah. It was a little more difficult on Rise of Skywalker, but and we'll circle around to Last Jedi at some point.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for listening. You can head to thunderquack.com to check out all the other great podcasts in the Thunderquack Podcast Network. And you can also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/thunderquack, on Twitter at thunderquackpod, and on Instagram at thunderquackpodcast.
You can also follow us individually on Twitter. I'm at Akonkin, Akonkin. You can add an 86 to that for Instagram.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Arkwulf, ARKWULF. And if you like what you heard, you guys can support us in 3 ways. First, by going to the podcast service of your choice and leaving a rating and review to let other people know you like the podcast and help them find it. With a general topic podcast like the one that we do here, where we're kind of just talking about geeky stuff, recommendations are really the only way that we get new listeners. Because we don't do interviews or anything like that. So yeah, it really helps. Just tell your friends about the podcast, share it, rate and review. That's all super helpful. The other ways that you can support us are by going to store.thunderquack.com to pick up some merchandise. You can get yourself a nice face mask right now, a nice Thunderquack themed face mask, which further heads up, as the world returns to some form of normalcy over the next little bit, face masks are going to be a required thing. And I think that everybody needs to get used to that idea. I know that there are some individuals out there saying that they look dorky and whatnot. I say lean into it. And go ahead and get a face mask for your favorite podcast based on a DC TV show or Star Wars television program. That's my 2 cents. Or support a good cause, because there are a lot of different face masks you can buy that support good causes.
I've actually been thinking about that too, like where I'm going to get one, because I'm going to probably head back to Vancouver soon. And I'm like, all my friends are making face masks. Which is cool.
We've got ours coming from the Vancouver Aquarium very soon. They actually just shipped today, so I should have them soon. But I'm getting my haircut tomorrow, finally.
Nice.
It's the process for getting it cut is very thorough. For they're gonna take my temperature before I'm allowed in, and I have to wear a mask the whole time. They're taking proper precautions. So if you want to get back to some of the things that we've been missing out on, masks are going to be a very important part of that. So store.thunderquack.com, go pick up some merch and help support the podcast by doing so. And last but not least, you can head to patreon.com/thunderquack and kick in with your monthly pledge of support and get some cool rewards in the process. Like, as we noted earlier, getting the podcast early, getting it ad-free. It's really late and I can't stop this yawn. I really tried. Sorry, guys. Or getting it uncut, where you're going to get a conversation that we had yesterday. Added on to this. What did we talk about? We talked about?
I forget. Oh, no, we talked about something nerdy. The Justice League cut.
Yeah, the Snyder cut.
Snyder cut. I'm gonna do something too, that because I keep thinking about these Audible credits I have, and what you're saying, and I'm like, you know what I would like is that I have Audible credits, and in terms of in the spirit of people helping other people find really nerdy things, how about I give an Audible credit to somebody who has a friend who says, this podcast was recommended to me by so-and-so, and I like it. So if somebody tweets at us or Instagrams at us or goes on Facebook and is like, hey, I found this podcast because so-and-so recommended it to me, and just listen to a download, I would love to give somebody an Audible credit. So do that. If you're interested in an Audible credit, recommend our podcast to somebody and then get them to tell me that you recommended the podcast, and you can reach out to me and I will figure out a way to get you an Audible credit.
Okay.
But on Twitter, that's the best way to do that.
Yeah.
I want to give my Audible credits away.
Cool.
And have people learn about the podcast. So I'll see that.
Patreon.com/thunderquack. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next week.
Stay safe, everybody. Wash your hands and be kind to one another.